And yeah, so the topic we have written here is day concluding session, benefits, uses, and contributions of the creative industries, culinary innovation, and performing arts to global politics, diplomacy, sustainable economics, and multiculturalism. So what I'd love to hear, just from my point of view, is where you see benefits and uses for the creative industries. Is this something that we just talk about? Is there a concrete benefit, let's say, economically for countries? Is there a benefit otherwise? There's also the debate we began earlier in the week about also how we deal with culture. Is culture something that we put in a glass jar and preserve? Or is culture something that lives and breathes and evolves? Is it good to have creative industries? What are your thoughts on that as well? So those are a few things I'd love to get a few feedback on. On the other hand, if you're tired, we can also conclude this very quickly. But I just wanted to offer the chance to have any discussion, comments, questions amongst each other or together with us. So this is our time for multilateral exchanges. Please. We can use the mic one up. Can someone hit the legs too?
Yeah, that's a good idea. Thank you. So, hello, my name is Yara Mualla, and I'm from Syria, and I'm doing my PhD here at the ICD in International Relations and Cultural Diplomacy. Actually, reflecting on what you said, Mark, about how cultural industries or cultural heritage can, or cultural industries that can be raised from cultural heritage in a way, can really help and be a good platform for cultural diplomacy. I give an example. When I was working in Syria, I was working with archaeological sites and museums, trying to reshape the whole strategies and also reshape the identity somehow in Syria. We had some pilots. One of the pilots that we worked with is in a very fragile area right now in northeast Syria. Actually, ISIS are on the corners everywhere. And it's already fragile because they are a mix of Kurds and Arabs. But because, thanks to the archaeologist who worked for 30 years, and he was very smart that he integrated both in working together with the archaeological team, and also thanks to the pilot that we did, because what we did is we tried to, in an indirect way, explain for them how important that they are neighbors to that place, and how this can be really a good benefit for them, not in a touristic way, but in a more direct way from them. It can be a generator for income. We focus on their local industries or on their local skills, like handicrafts, cooking. They know how to do toys. So we engaged with the women in doing this. We managed also to help the children. We just saw what the children can do. So who wrote a story, who likes drawing, we helped in doing that. And to be frank with you, we didn't do much. We only mobilized them somehow to do that. And we did a lot of networking around that they were not aware of. As a fact, I mean, not talking about the pilot, but the pilot brought a lot of benefits to that place. Right now, all the archaeological sites are in a great danger in Syria. And I thought as a start at the beginning that this one will be damaged very soon. It's on the border with ISIS. Anyway, the demograph is a bit dangerous. It's a mix. It's on the borders of Turkey as well. So, I mean, it's too fragile. Apparently, it's one of the most reserved ones. The locals defended the site in a great way. Until now, we have the most beautiful, successful story. I thank first the archaeologist because till now, I mean, I just had a meeting with him and he told me that till now he is still employing the same amount of villagers, although he didn't went to Syria for the last 4 years. But he finds a way to pay them from Damascus to that village, still employing everybody, so they don't suffer from the concept that they can't come. And they still reserve the place. So if you go there as if he left yesterday and not 4 years ago, and also he still buy all the products that we help the women do. So both tangibly and intangibly, the site is reserved. Now I think that helped in many ways. We managed to really reduce the tension in the demography. There's a lot of diversity there, and I mean, to be frank with you, they were not very friendly to each other before. But with this work, with our condition that any project that will success should be a merge from both sides, that really brought them on the same boat and that made them help each other somehow. When having only one kindergarten, both children came in from both sides. So this, I mean, it's a very small project, but I think it did really make a big impact. So I just wanted to share that with you.
Well, thank you. I think a very important example of a very challenging context. Thank you for sharing that. Additional comments, questions regarding creative industries, possible use or benefits, tangible or intangible? Or do you want to add anything? You were here most of the day, or any kind of open questions that you maybe observed, or reflections maybe from the day?
My question, I was going to maybe chat a little bit about how our own national identity influences the stories that we've heard so far. We had medals, we had food, we had such a variety of topics, arts, and your personal story as a musician. And I was going to share about our national identities and then come to maybe a conclusion. Or yeah, I mean, I'm very curious as a person. I'm Romanian. I left for the United States where I spent about 7 years. I came back to Romania afterwards. I missed very much Long Beach, California, where I used to live. Then I joined this International Ladies Association. First, I thought it was from a personal view, my natural volunteer way of getting involved into charitable association. But then a few years later, after I joined this dynamic association, I realized that I very much missed the diversity in Long Beach. I used to work for the Long Beach Convention Center. Events were turning, and you can see today, a huge expo, overnight trucks, everything in. It was next day everything was cleared, and then something else was coming. And I was always in contact with all these people organizing as an event manager and more like a logistic person. I was really absorbing everything that that's what I'm doing right now, rather absorbing the information and the impact that creative industries can have over us, but as individuals rather. So I'm talking from the personal point of view here, and that's why I was asking you about Hungarian and Egyptian and then German. I guess it's a way of finding ourselves in life. And from what I found, it was through feelings that it most linked all the diverse people that I've met. I don't know. So we didn't approach that subject, we didn't talk about feelings today. Maybe we should drink a glass of wine and talk some more. But I don't know, that's my personal story. I think also we have different backgrounds, different life experiences, and that also plays a role into multiculturalism. And I don't know if I conclude this summary or it was a personal statement, but that's where my thoughts are coming from while listening to these presentations today.
I think it's a very important issue, and it maybe is end of the day, so it looks like we shouldn't continue this too long, but I think it is an important point I'd like to underline. I think really we do need to have some sort of a clarity for our own identities, whether it's individual, national, etc., before we can really deal with other identities. That's my analysis. I'd be curious to hear feedback in case you grew up in Germany, or yes, know a little bit, maybe even your opinion on this. Germany, from an outsider looking in, I would always have the thesis had sort of an insecurity complex, in the sense the world wouldn't allow Germans to be proud to be German and hold up the flag because of their past, Second World War, etc., which for me created the problem problem. If you're a little bit insecure in your own identity, then I think it's difficult for you to embrace other identities. And that's one of my theses as to why the whole issue of immigration, integration, multiculturalism maybe is a little bit more peculiar. I mean, in the USA, there was more common experience. I mean, the USA, almost everybody came from somewhere else, aside from a very small group of Native Americans, which are almost gone, but still some exist. Everyone came from somewhere else. Some by choice in the case of immigrants, some not by choice in the case of slaves. But sort of this experience of coming from somewhere else was really a common fabric, I think, in the American identity. Not meaning that they did it perfectly. I mean, we had slavery, we had racism, we still have racism, many, many problems. But that is a common experience that Germany maybe didn't have. And to your point, this idea of really having a certain security in our identity, I think, is also important. We don't have to be arrogant or, proud in the arrogant sense of the word, but at least secure. This is who I am, that's okay. And then if you're secure in your own identity, okay, you're no problem with me, or you as well, if you're different. My mom used to always say, speaking of feelings, you have to love yourself before you can love someone else. And I think maybe that was an issue for Germany for a while. They weren't really allowed to love them. That was actually Hannes. You're right in front of me, speaking of Germany. I'd love to hear your reflections on this too. But so I think it's important, whatever the case is, we don't have to talk about Germany if you don't want to. I think this idea of identity is important. We do need clarity in our individuals, which is already complicated enough in this room. You have 2 passports. I'm not sure how many passports you have, etc. Who are you? How do we make sense of this? Only you can help me understand yourself. You can show me your passport. Maybe that says nothing about you. You can tell me where you were born. Maybe also. So it's really a very individual process. And then more complicated, from the cultural diplomacy point of view, is the national process. What the heck is German identity? What the heck is American identity? I don't know. How do we make sense of that? But we need to make sense of it. Otherwise, it's going to be hard to build any kind of trust or understanding. So I don't have an answer for the point you made, but I think the question is really important. And I would say maybe one answer is that we just need to ask that question more often. Who am I? Who do I want to be? And then ask ourselves, are my own actions and are the actions of my country reflective of who we think we are and who we want to be? And very often that's not the case. You have a policy which maybe doesn't actually lead us to the place we want to go. So I think we always have to be conscious of this when we discuss multiculturalism, integration, all of these things. European Union, will the European Union stay together? We spoke about Greece yesterday. We do need to ask those questions. So again, without going into a separate lecture, I just want to underline very important points that I think does need to be dealt with individually and nationally, and will certainly influence the success or the failure of any creative industry, cultural diplomacy, or any policy that we have. So just underline that. But would anyone else like to add anything, or have I provoked anything? Or, okay. I think a few more, and then we can conclude it.
Actually, for the identity, I was lucky to meet Marshall Gans, who works a lot on the identity, and he has 3 simple questions: who I am, who we are, and what is now. Sorry, it's not like that. The story of me, the story of us, and the story of now. That's how it is indeed. And there are the questions, actually. So it's really complicated because, I'm Syrian, but it's funny. Like, if I say that I maybe not share a lot of Syrian values, although I don't carry any other nationality, simply because I am originally from the coast side. But I have been born and raised in the Euphrates side, in the border between Turkey and Iraq, which is a completely different culture. Yet I have lived in the Gulf for a long, long time, and I studied abroad in Europe and stuff. And I'm coming from a very also artistic family, so the whole values and the whole traditional family stories is not applied. So I never forced to be like the rest. So I've been very individual in a way. When I went back to Damascus in 2009, somebody asked me, like in the office, I was working in the middle of the work, told me, Yara, where are you from? And I mean, immediately I answered, I'm from Syria. And she's like, really? It's obvious. It was funny for her, my answer. But for me, I'm from Syria was the best answer I can give. I don't know what else to say. I'm working in Damascus now, but I'm born and raised in Raqqa. But originally I'm from the seaside, from Latakia, so I go only in the summer. I know, like, freedom, sea, like, beautiful life. And she told me, no, like, which city? And I said, okay, from Latakia. And that was very sufficient for somebody in Damascus. Then I was working in Latakia for one of the pilots. And when I said my family name, the head of the museum told me, so where are you from? I told him, I'm from here. I thought that I'm smart now, like I can't say it, I'm in my city, no? So I'm from here. And he told me, what do you mean from here? Like, from where? And then I told him the address of my parents' apartment. He told me, no, like, no Latakin is from the city. Everybody is from a small village around the city. So from which village? And I'm like, okay, I had to think a lot because I never visited that village, but I had to say the name of the village, otherwise the guy is not satisfied. Few months later, I was visiting a cultural center in one of the, like bigger than a village, but a town in northern Latakia. And the minute I was shaking hand with the head of that center, saying, Yara Mualla, and he told me, you are the daughter of whom? And I'm like, what? And then I had to know all the story of my parents. He told me, you don't know anything, so you are most probably are the descendant from this person who married that woman and kidnapped her somewhere else. That's why you don't live in that place. He told me stories that I didn't know about me in that place. And it was really like very important for me. It changed a lot. I mean, I started to, I bought books about families in Latakia. That's first one. Like, I really couldn't accept that a stranger is telling me the story of my grandfather. That was really shocking. And second, I brought another book talking about the tribe, the original tribe. So I knew that 600 or 700 years ago, my origin is coming from Yemen. And like, I had a deep research on that. It was so shocking that I didn't know anything about who I was, maybe. Who I am, I made. Who I want to be, I know. But who I was ignorant about. So it's a process. I think, like, if you ask me 5 years ago who I am, I would have a completely different answer about who I am now. And I have no idea in 5 years how I will be. I know how I want to be, but how I will be, it's like really the process itself takes you there. So yeah, for me, identity building, this argument about identity is quite personal. I agree with you. I'm very skeptical about this national identity. Find it very, very personal. While working, we had these questions about how you put yourself and who you are and all this. And I don't think there is two Syrians that they wrote the same things. Some put religion first. Some, they forget it completely. Some people put their name or their family name. Some, they put their profession. I think rarely anybody wrote Syrian or Arab as example. So it's a quite special thing and very private, I think.
I'll give you one example on how the society can challenge one's identity. And an example from 4 days ago, when I went with one of my colleagues to get something to eat. It was one of the gyros places here by the Yuvan station. And we were very chatty. I was very happy, excited, very hungry. And I was kind of chatting in a funny way with the gentleman that was serving. And he was I saw my colleague that he was very nervous about my gyros because he got into the stereotype of the tall blonde lady. And then and I'll tell you why I say that. And then he asked my colleague, so where is she from? And he said Romania. And then his attitude changed completely. I have my personal interaction with people I realized that he already got into a different field. And I realized that right here next to the Yuvan station, Strasse, where the wonderful ladies are doing their thing, and I was so colorful on my high heels, and I realized, okay, so that's a stereotype. So, and I know who I am, but I never thought that somebody would think of me that way. So just for a second, it makes you question.
we should probably conclude. I'm seeing here, I think people are starting to come to the limits, but I think very important comments. And what I was about to just add is, one of the theses we have also at the Institute, we need to question, does the nation state really make sense anymore? Is that a practical way for us to deal with the global challenges that we have? I don't know. I mean, if you look at, let's say, climate change, disease, poverty, all these major issues, the nation state doesn't actually seem so well equipped to deal with that. There's another thesis of this American academic Benjamin Barber, mayors should rule the world, basically talking about the importance of cities. Also interesting, you think about a mayor of a city, he's got to make sure that the roads work. He's got to make sure that the sewage works. In that sense, there's a practicality there, which sometimes seems to be lost. We were talking about a number of countries, economic crisis, etc., yesterday, where that's not the case. So who knows? I don't have the answer for this, but again, an important question. How practical is it in today's society to have the nation state? I don't know. A valid question. Or does there need to be some sort of a rebalancing between maybe cities and global governance? Who knows? 70 years now, United Nations this year, we're celebrating, really looking back and seeing how far have we come, where do we need to go? So these are a few questions for us to think about as we relax this evening. Hopefully downstairs, I think some of you will be joining us for some dinner or some drinks. And, but thank you again for an excellent day. Thank you also very much to Marina for having moderated. I heard very positive feedback from my side. You can tell me the truth later on when we speak, but no, I think it was really great. And so we've got an excellent team. Tomorrow we're going to begin again at 10:30. I'm just looking here. Tomorrow is Thursday, if I am correct. Yes, the days are wishing in between. So morning coffee at 10:30, and then 11 o'clock is the first speech. Tomorrow evening, come prepared. We have also a special reception with Pakistan, together with the Embassy of Pakistan. So there'll be also some food and some cultural performances. Should be interesting. Everyone is welcome. Also speakers from today as well. That will begin at 6 o'clock at the Pakistan evening. So so I wish you all a relaxing evening, and we'll see you tomorrow at 10:30 for coffee, 11 o'clock for the first speech. So thank you very much. Thank you.